And with that, we are ready to begin today's event, once again sponsored by IBM and IPD, and hosted by Insurance Networking News. I'd like to introduce your moderator for today, and that is Pat Spear. Pat, you have the floor.
Thanks very much, Greg, and thanks to all of you for joining us today. You know, I think it's a given that siloed systems, linear workflows, and manual processes keep insurers from being productive. And although the industry has made some inroads to improve operational efficiencies and information sharing, these efforts are mostly representative of incremental improvements as opposed to game-changing operational transformation. Today, our speakers are going to address this topic and provide us with some insights on what is required to achieve operational transformation, leveraging next-generation case management as a key technology enabler. I'm going to introduce all of our speakers up front and remind you that, as Greg told you, we're going to save some time for Q&A. So if you have a question along the way while any of the presenters are speaking, please feel free to enter it in the box, and we'll get to as many questions as we possibly can. Our first speaker is Deb Smallwood, founder of strategic research and advisory firm Strategy Meets Action, also known as SMA. Deb has a wealth of experience in the insurance industry, serving as VP of Tower Group's insurance practice, Chief Transformation Officer at Insurance Company of the West, and Head of Commercial Lines App Development at Liberty Mutual. Insurers rely on Deb's expertise in distribution, underwriting, automation, and core systems. In particular, her understanding of business and IT strategy linkage helps insurers of all sizes reevaluate their IT plans and investments in order to differentiate themselves with innovation. Deb is a popular speaker at leading industry conferences and a regular contributor to insurance publications such as INN. Our next speaker is Joe Ziegel, Worldwide Industry Solutions Executive at IBM's Insurance segment. Like Deb, Joe also has held a number of leadership positions within the industry, serving as VP and General Manager at American Financial Group, where he was responsible for strategy and innovation for a host of financial services companies. Joining IBM through the acquisition of FileNet, Joe has extensive experience in operations, sales and marketing, product management, and information technology. Today, Joe leads IBM's Information Management Global Marketing Team for the Insurance segment and oversees the development of industry solutions, market management, and partner relationships. Last but not least, we're going to hear from Stephen Racine, founder and CEO, Image Process Design, also known as IPD. Steve's background includes serving as a consulting partner at KPMG Pete Marwick, where he developed work process automation and document management strategies and methodologies. Upon founding IPD in 1991, Steve realized his goal to fill the gap between the potential of evolving workflow and content management technologies and the actual user needs in specific vertical operations. Since then, IPD has been delivering mission-critical solutions that leverage next-generation technologies, and his company has provided its expertise to hundreds of companies in the financial services vertical. So, without further ado, I want to get started. Deb, you have the floor.
Thank you, Pat, and good day to everyone. Today's webinar is such an intriguing title and topic. Transformation is such an uncommon word used historically in our industry. So the title, Mission Not Impossible, Operational Transformation with Case Management, really may seem like a daunting, scary, expensive task, but the reality is it's extremely possible to achieve operational transformation. And in today's climate of the competitive landscape and the need to grow competitively and profitably, operational transformation is really an option. And our research, which I'm going to show you a little on in this presentation, about 20% of insurers are in some level or some initiative around transformation in our industry. So today I'm going to talk about operational transformation. I'm going to level set on what it is, why it's important, and show you a couple of strategic slides and frameworks to get you thinking a little differently about transformation and making sure that it's not this scary, daunting task, that it is absolutely possible and doable to have success in the industry. Before I begin on my presentation, I'd be remiss if I just didn't put a slide up here about SMA. As Pat indicated, we're a strategic advisory firm, And I started the company to really keep a pulse on the industry through our research and provide advice and influence to solution providers and insurers. We have a variety of services, and we have a yearly event, the SMA Summit. We have annual awards on innovation, and we have an insurer forum, over 200 business and IT executives that participate in a lot of our research. So, watch for those events and watch for participation in our research. We really appreciate it, and then we can share some of our research findings with you all, like today. The structure or the flow of my presentation, there's 4 areas. I'm going to level set in terms of the definition of transformation, hone in on a little around the metrics, share some SMA research in terms of IT spending, the reality of today, and then our calling card, the call to action, which is really our signature, some points about, so what does this all mean, and how do you take action from this slides. I have about 10 slides. They'll be about 15 to 18 minutes long. So let's begin. This is absolutely one of my favorite slides. For the last 4 years at SMA, we've been conducting ecosystem research, which is overall business drivers, IT spending, and priorities. And for the past 4 years, we've been tracking and asking the question, what is the current mode of your company? And it's a 4-year comparison. And it's actually a similar audience every year that takes this, so you can see the shift, how the industry is really positioning for growth and spending less and less time on sustaining, and relatively flat for transforming. And we have 18% of the industry, that's close to 20% in my opening remarks, that are at some level working on some type of business and or IT transformational activity. The industry is extremely financially strong, and very few are in this surviving mode. Now, you may say that, wow, 53% are growing. Well, it doesn't necessarily mean that their top line or their bottom line has growth. But as they make decisions on their strategy, the business initiatives, or even their IT investments, it's what comes to mind and what is the priority. And what we have here is over half is positioning for growth. So the key takeaway is, where is your company and how are you positioning your IT investments, and what are you looking for? Now I'd like to just take a step back, and this is always so much fun to do definitions of operational transformation. When I was in school, I never liked definitions, but now with Google search, you could do really fun things and really look at words and the combination of words a little differently. So if you just take the word operational, if you were to look it up on the web or in a dictionary, if people still use dictionaries, which I have one in my office too, it's really a series of operations that together result in an outcome. So clearly operational in the context of insurance is our business processes that run our companies, right? And the result is some type of outcome, and usually some type of metric that would be associated with that. Now, when I did the Google search on the definition of operational, it actually used an analogy of the operation of making a peanut butter sandwich. And what it said was, it's the operation of taking a piece of bread, breading peanut butter, and then putting another piece of bread on top. And it was very simplistic. So we can look at our business processes and underwriting and servicing and claims very simplistically. And I think if we asked underwriters or claims to say, how do you make a peanut butter sandwich, it would probably look a little different, but it would have some kind of bread, some type of peanut butter, and they would put another piece on it. But when we think about transformation, the word itself is really the act of changing something thoroughly or profound or some type of significant improvement. So combining operational transformation is significant improvement in the business process that results in a significant improvement in metrics. So the metrics could also be a variety of different things. So let's go back to the peanut butter sandwich. Well, what we could do is now use maybe a tortilla wrap, not use bread, right? And rather than spreading it, use a squeeze container and just put a line, and then roll the sandwich or roll the wrap. And we could use almond butter instead of peanut butter. So the result for the metrics aren't necessarily, it may not be faster, might be easier. We may have to use less utensils. It may be healthier because we're using almond butter instead of peanut butter. It may not cost more, but it's transformational because we took a simple white bread sandwich and we made it a roll with something different. So when you're thinking about your operational transformation, think of something simple as a peanut butter sandwich and all the different ways that you can transform that. So let's look at some of the financial and operational metrics. On the left-hand side is profitable growth. And at the top part, you see a lot of the financial metrics as it relates to the top line, earned premium or revenue. And some of those financial metrics are hit ratio, number of sales, closed ratio. It could be number of policies, number of customers, average policies per customer. Then down below where it says combined ratio, that is clearly a P&C term, but it really is all around your expenses, your claims payouts, and your operational expenses. And those would be headcounts, IT investments, average claims costs, number of claims, reserves, and pretty complicated stuff as it relates to insurance. And then, of course, for profitable growth is our investment income. But our financial metrics are also partnered or coupled with operational metrics. So when we think about operational transformation, we really should hone in on revenue enhancement, productivity. So maybe it's the cost of producing a quote or the cost to settle a claim. It could be policy turnovers. It could be renewals. It could be retention. It could even be customer service levels. It could be satisfaction. It could be some of the new scores that are coming out for client satisfaction. It actually could be time to market. And also not just external client satisfaction, but it could be employee satisfaction or even just retaining your employees. So a variety of different operational metrics to look at. Next is another piece of our research, and this one is business drivers for triggering technology investments. And what we have is a comparison. The blue is 2012, the orange is 2013, and really hone in on those top reasons why insurance companies and insurers and business executives are actually investing in technology. It is all around growth, which really aligns to, remember the mode of company, it's growth, and it's also around cost containment, expense reduction, and business optimization. Unfortunately, we didn't ask the question on here, transformation, but I would think that business optimization, cost containment, and even growth could be part of an overall transformation strategy. What's new in 2013 compared to 2012 was the words that I said in my opening remarks, which is the competitive pressures. They're growing. Insurers are figuring out ways to really trim expenses and really drive profitability, and we're starting to see a big gap and shift in terms of some of the financials due to either transformation or operational improvements, and also coupled with precision pricing from an underwriting perspective. So the competitive pressures are really starting to put some pressure on technology investments and making sure that we're keeping up or staying with the rest of the industry. Next is where is all this spend happening? Historically and currently, the insurance industry in North America spends a significant amount of money, probably close to $40 billion a year, with internal and external spend in terms of technology. So where is it all going? Well, you can see here the orange is P&C and the blue is life and annuity, and down at the bottom is really an ecosystem, the value chain from marketing to distribution through underwriting, policy, billing, through claims, and then some of your back office. Well, P&C is really investing in new business and underwriting. They're also investing in policy servicing. We continue to see high numbers as it relates to core systems. And then on the life side, as always, the number one is distribution and product configuration and product development are really high, in addition to policy servicing and underwriting. So very similar. You can see that claims is high for P&C and not as high on life. So significant investments what I would call in the front office and middle office, which is all around customer service, which is all around profitable growth. Now, what we're seeing, if we looked a little deeper into this, significant investments in core systems, significant investments in portals, significant investments in business intelligence and analytics and the use of predictive analytics models. But we're also seeing significant investments in other technologies, which we're going to talk about today, which actually present case management and case management capability for underwriting and claims, which Joe and Steve are going to go into a little more detail. And what I really want to point out here is that the investments are above and beyond just core systems, as I just mentioned. So where are we as an industry? Where are we? What are our constraints and our challenges? And I tend not to put constraints and challenge slides up in webinars because they're negative, right? And I'd rather see more positives. But the reality is the business of insurance is complex. If you think about our products and all our rules and all our regulations by product, by state, it's just overwhelming in terms of the rules and the regulations from an underwriting, policy servicing, and claims perspective. And if you think about over the years the investments that have happened, that our business processes and our workflows have evolved over the years. And we have spent a lot of pieces, we've invested in a lot of different technologies. But as a result, we've almost complicated our environments through the evolution, rather than taking a step back and really looking how we could transform the operations. And if you think about the peanut butter sandwich, you know, we continue to maybe make them thicker or use different kinds of breads, but in reality, have we really thought about something that might be even healthier for us than white bread and just some plain butter filled with sugar, or peanut butter filled with sugar? So what's really kind of fascinating is I've talked to many insurers, and I've sat across the desk from heads of underwriting or heads of claims, and they'll show me their map of their systems. And it'll be on one page, I'll see 25 systems, 15 systems, lots of arrows, lots of movement, but yet their operations are still very manual, or it's a combination of automation and manual. And what we've done is we've invested in pieces of technology and applications and haven't really thought through about how they can all fit together or bringing those investments to the next level. So as a result, many insurers, not all, but many insurers have a combination of that automation and manual processes, a lot of rekeying and duplicates. So sitting across an underwriter who shows me a spreadsheet or a diagram with 25 systems, they're rekeying information in many, many places. The systems aren't integrated. The workflows aren't integrated. Underwriting manuals, claim manuals are still in manuals. They may be in a PDF form that someone can read online, but they're not integrated with their systems. A lot of handoffs between people within the department or with brokers and agents or with third party on the claim side. Still a lot of paper. We have a lot of research that shows there's still a lot of paper getting pushed, even though many have electronic folders. And as a result, we can't share that information internally or externally with brokers and agents very easily. It really takes a long time to create operational reports, and to bring anyone new into your department really takes a long time to train and to add those resources and get them up to a level where they're extremely productive. And at the end of the day, our processes are slow, they're expensive, and somewhat inefficient. And the list could go on and on and on and on. And again, you know, this isn't every insurer, but there's pockets of this probably at every insurer. So what we recommend at SMA is to look a little differently at our IT investments and to think a little more holistically. And this is a chart that we created last fall called the Business Value Maturity Matrix. And it's a really great way of looking at your technology investments and figuring out where they land. At the bottom is, what is your competitive positioning? Are you going to be a laggard, meaning not invest at all? and probably not, because if you're on this call, you're looking to do some type of investment. Mainstreamer is the majority of the industry, probably 60 to 70% of the industry, where you wait until there's something proven, or you wait until there's a push or competitive pressures, and then you invest. Or you a mover, where you like to stay one step ahead of the mainstreamers and one step behind of the market leaders. And then up on the left-hand side is the business value, which starts to bring you into effectiveness and operational excellence. So when you look at your IT investments, if you look at replacing, let's say, your core policy admin system, are you looking to replace it with what you have today and what's missing? Or are you looking to really modernize both your business and your technology platforms? And then what we find is that an implementation usually stops there. It usually stops at that typical endpoint where you've modernized your policy admin and you've modernized your business processes, and you have a new technology platform, and you stop. So an example would be straight-through processing for personal lines. You've implemented a new system, and you're conducting 60 to 80% straight-through processing. What you haven't done, though, is you haven't looked necessarily at maybe the underwriting and the exception processing for that 40 to 20% that's not automated. That's where you start to optimize and maybe transform the way you do business, and then start to think about innovating and looking a little differently at that peanut butter sandwich. What we see across the industry is when we talk to executives with this chart and they look at their technology investment, where is it going to land you? Is it going to land you in optimize and innovate, where you're going to start to really have transformational results? Or is it really just going to put you down with the rest of the industry down at Replace Plus? And that's where you're going to get your competitive advantage from looking a little differently at your investments. And then the last slide I have before I go to the call to action is conjoinment. And this is a concept that we created about 2 years ago at SMA. And it really starts to show how you've got to invest beyond a core system. So sure, everyone needs modern policy, billing, and claim system at some point, right? And you're building portals and that connectivity. But what we've seen are really mature technologies that can really bring you beyond that modernized to optimize and to innovate and really transformational. So with a core system, what you can do is you can add rules engines, you can add BPM, business process management, add predictive analytics, add workflow, and or add collaboration, add enterprise content management, and you start to bundle based on your business strategies, your business needs, and your technology platform. You start to conjoin these pieces, and that's where you start to really see the big value and the big benefit. And last is the call to action. It's possible. I didn't go necessarily into examples. We've seen many, many success stories in the industry. I believe Steve and Joe are going to talk a little about that. And what I encourage you all to do is really think big and start small. Think operational transformation. Think about conjoinment. Think about your technology investments in 3 to 5 year windows. And then start small. Start with one small project and then add on, conjoin, and build from that. And as I talked about, there's some really great technologies out there, and how you bundle them together can really create that competitive advantage. And I encourage you all to start today. And that ends my portion of the webinar. Thank you for your participation. I'd like to turn it over to Joe.
Thank you, Deb. And for the rest of the presentation today, we're going to be talking through a concept we call operational transformation with case management, or mission not impossible. I'm Joe Ziegel with IBM, and Deb's comments provide a lens into the state of the union in the insurance industry and point out what's required to transform insurance operations, along with some very good, solid, and practical advice. I'd like to take a few moments to offer our point of view on what's necessary to truly possible to achieve insurance transformation. Insurers' efforts to modernize and transform themselves is not a new concept. In fact, many organizations have gone through several iterations. and many others consider this a constant state of change in pursuit of lower costs and improved operations. If we look at a representative timeline of evolution, we see that the introduction of software, or as it was called in the early days, data processing, captured elements of certain insurance transactions, improving the ability to measure the business. From that point, all organizations have evolved, either by expanding their lines of business offerings, experimenting with new distribution channels, acquiring other organizations or mergers and acquisitions, leading to a collection of systems, often spaghettiware, which typically are not integrated, and they often perform redundant functions. Very importantly, they provide limited views into the real information of the business. Many insurers today still rely on paper, as Deb pointed out, in terms of both policy and claims folders, customer service files, even billing. And even those that don't struggle to answer questions that cross functions or lines of business due to the nature of organizational business structures. Simple questions such as, is this a high-value customer, become almost impossible to answer because the information is locked in the silos of the business units or the systems that support that particular line of business. So as I said, transformation, the concept is not new, and the advancements of technology have enabled waves of transformation efforts. However, when modernizing the systems, it's important to also address the business processes, the core of what we do, looking for improvements and efficiencies. Despite significant re-engineering efforts, as Deb pointed out, many organizations still fall short of the dramatic transformations they seek. We can contribute this in part to approaches that apply manufacturing principles to the complex decision-making and insurance processes. These results in designing processes around blue sky or ideal path as the initial standpoint. From there, we create linear processes attempting to mimic or describe the decision-making that takes place in insurance. And then we quickly run into issues where there are many tree branches, many common exceptions, many decision points. And the tree and branch chart becomes very complicated. To solve those, we often say this is too hard, and we create many manual steps. We depart from our system solution. And what happens is that we end up with many systems, a lot of manual processes, a lot of broken implementations, and that fails to even address the fact that many of our people, our underwriters, our claims adjusters, or other professionals, don't have all the same skills. How do we loop in professionals with high skills into processes where they need to be? How can we triage and route business to people who have lower skills and organize the business in an optimal way? And one of the reasons that this is so difficult to achieve is that we've applied technologies to the insurance processes with the idea that it's easy to automate. I propose that the focus has been on transactional data, booking a policy and paying a claim. But in the insurance industry, our information and processes are not highly structured. In fact, 80% of the information used in decision-making is unstructured in the form of text, descriptions, photographs, diagrams, and whatnot. Likewise, we take a close look at insurance processes, we realize that they are also highly unstructured. The transaction itself is a structured process, but the processes to think, to investigate, to make decisions are far less structured. Systems that have been designed to record and transact the results of those decisions, but take far less effort, and even fewer solutions have been designed to focus on the decision-making that skilled underwriters, claims adjusters, and other professionals make on a daily basis. True transformation must embrace these knowledge workers and provide tools that focus on increasing their workloads, enhancing their decision-making, and providing deeper insights, not just automating the lower quality or lower value tasks that they perform. The end result is really to focus on achieving the metrics that Deb described, things such as revenue growth. IBM is privileged to have thousands of relationships with insurance companies throughout the world. As a result, we've seen a need for capabilities, as Deb described, and using her terminology, to conjoin those core systems that allow more business value. First, we need information to make better decisions, to support our knowledgeable people. We need to activate and capture the information that forms the context of the case, whether it be a policy decision, a claims decision, a product management decision. We can authorize anyone to participate, including agents, brokers, and policyholders. And we have to provide trails for audit, a key component of insurance. We need to really focus on how we support the way that people work. We will not replace or eliminate the decision-making people within our organizations. We need to support their work in a new way. We need to acknowledge the fact that their processes are unpredictable and highly dynamic. In many cases, tasks are optional or created based on need from an evaluation or an investigation. They're collaborative. It might involve other professionals such as loss prevention, loss engineering services, claims adjudication specialists or appraisers. It might also include the broker in the process of sales. And there's any number of processes which can take place in this regard. It's not limited to the core processes of insurance being claims and underwriting. We need to really focus on, as Deb pointed out, the outcomes of why we're performing the work. Do we need a better view into a line of business? Do we need to look at how a particular distribution channel or agency is performing? And the reports that result from managing these case workloads, both in terms of real time and on a more analytical perspective that give us historical or longitudinal views that let us improve our operations over time. We need to provide guidance on individual decisions to improve the outcomes of individual case decisions. And lastly, we need to put the business in control. We need to provide flexibility and agility. The solutions have to be business-driven. We need a rapid time to value, and we need the ability to have accelerators that make it easy and quick to implement these solutions. IBM brings these capabilities together in a single integrated package. We call it IBM's Case Manager. Leveraging IBM's Enterprise Content Management Platform, IBM Case Manager simplifies the delivery of case-based solutions, providing a set of key required capabilities for transformation, from managing the unstructured and structured content, supporting collaboration, workflow, and business rules, combining collaboration, events, and triggers and management with monitoring and analytics. The infrastructure enables integration or conjoinment with other insurance systems, and including business functions as the key store for delivery and access to information. The user experience allows analysts to readily design and deliver specific solutions in a rapid fashion, provide management with real-time insight to work in progress, and analytical perspectives for continued business improvement and audit. And finally, our knowledge workers are provided with a user experience that supports the nature of their business, providing easy access to information, the ability to control tasks consistent with how they make decisions. Insurance transformation must address the needs of decision makers, not simply by replacing them or their tasks or their decisions. Anyone who has worked at a desk in an insurance organization understands that factors such as time pressures, missing information, relationships with producers, suppliers, etc., are realities that are faced when we make these specific decisions. To address these realities, case management embraces the ad hoc nature of insurance processes with the notion of tasks. Tasks equate to items often found in underwriting or claims checklists. Consistently, tasks can be performed in any order, and in many cases may be optional. This construct allows for ad hoc collaboration on a risk and proceeding through the chain of approvals. Work can be accomplished by one or many individuals participating in a case, and events can be used to create tasks, or conversely, in cases such as requests for supporting documentation, can automatically be used to complete tasks when the supporting documentation is retrieved or received. IBM's Case Manager infrastructure is designed to embrace this type of knowledge work, instead of forcing workarounds in manual processes. By this point, I hope you see the transformation of insurance requires thinking differently about how work gets done. The best practice is to design for the key unit of work, the case, whether it's a claim, a new business process, a new business submission, a renewal, even a new product design, or in the case of litigation, a legal case. You need to put the design in the hands of the people familiar with the business, with tools that allow rapid prototyping and reuse of other case solutions. Tasks allow work to be completed in either guided process paths or as checklists, focusing on the information associated with completing the task, enabling flexibility and focusing on the outcome or the intended outcome of the case. In addition to delivering solutions that transform how work is performed by insurance professionals, our clients are enjoying significant returns. The time and cost savings for the solution design is being reduced by 1/2, and the impact on administration and operations is being reduced by nearly 1/3. Achieving these results also comes from another important best practice, leveraging the specific industry skills and technical expertise that IBM's partners like Image Process Design deliver. So now let me hand things over to Steve Racine, CEO and founder of Image Process Design, IBM's partner.
Thanks a lot, Joe and Deb. So my key goal at the moment is to get through my slides and still leave 10 minutes at the end for questions and answers. So I'll try to be as concise as I possibly can. So as Joe mentioned, IPD is an IBM business partner that implements these types of solutions for insurance companies. You've heard from Deb about the constraints to operational transformation, and you heard from Joe that IBM developed a platform of capabilities that they call IBM Case Manager that makes it much easier to add these capabilities on top of your existing systems. I'm going to talk briefly about what actual solutions utilizing IBM Case Manager look like, and a little about the methodologies that we use in delivering these solutions, and at least one example of the benefits gained by one of our clients. So, working with clients, we found that entire departments, like claims or new business, sometimes spend up to 80% of their time performing low value-added activities, leaving them very little time to truly add value and differentiate themselves. It's hard to differentiate yourself when you're chasing files, managing backlogs, navigating old systems, etc. You can see from this chart, you might be familiar with some of those low-value activities that are shown here, which leaves very little time. In the case of this one example, only about 20% of the total budget spent in the claims department was spent doing what they believed were high-value-added activities. So what if you could eliminate the wasted effort and spend most of your time on high-value knowledge work? To drive down the time spent on the low-value activities, you have to automate new capabilities that you don't have today. So one company that we worked with who did just that was Sun Life Financial in their large disability insurance operations. So as you can see there, Sun Life's VP of Claims describes the transformation of their operations in the following 2 slides anyway. Per Deb's definition of transformation, Sun Life did see significant improvements across most of their operational metrics, and now actually lead their industries in some critical metrics such as policy lapse rates. Now you can see some other of the benefits that they achieved, and one of which is the improvement, significant improvement in recovery rates. Basically, how quickly do we get people back to work and through their therapy sessions. We also helped Sun Life in a variety of other improvement areas. You can see we improved things like service levels. We eliminated hundreds of low value-added tasks. We now view work from that broader case perspective that Joe mentioned. We enhanced quality. You can see just on the cost line, we eliminated hundreds of tasks. On the speed line, we now get new information as it comes in. It gets automatically transferred to the caseworker as soon as it arrives. And then from a customer service standpoint, we get much quicker response to inquiries as they come in. So how do you get to solutions for your specific operations in the most rapid fashion? And like building a house, it requires planning, the right tools, and the right set of expertise. We begin projects with a detailed understanding of the targeted operation and the constraints to improvement. Deb talked about some of these constraints. We start a project, we have to understand those in detail. This particular case was an underwriting work process. And you can just see, without going into the detail from left to right, there's just a lot of manual activities going on. And we need to identify the many low-value activities that constrain them from focusing on their high-value activities. So in this case, the solution actually eliminated over 3/4 of the discrete activities that used to be done by people and are no longer necessary to be done manually. This graphic highlights another example of the constraints that one of our clients faced in making meaningful improvements. There's just too many factors that hold them back, and these factors, you don't have to read them all on the left there, but they relate to things that Joe and Deb both talked about. These are actual interview comments from people working in the underwriting area. They have process management problems, they have integration of systems problems, they have standardization problems, they have workload management problems, they have rigid systems that don't allow them to change processes rapidly. On the right-hand side, on the other hand, are things that senior management talks about in the boardroom. These are the things we're going to improve this year or next year, or our 5-year plan. But if my goal is to improve productivity, you can see from all of those comments that the actual users made, many of them impact productivity. And if you go into even more detail, you'll see that there's hundreds of things that actually constrain you from improving your productivity in any meaningful way. So we have to find those, and we have to build them into a plan. So they all, all those types of problems, as you can see in the middle level of this graphic, all those problems having to do with work management, with consistency of rules, reporting and analytics, content, and case structures. They all need to be addressed if you're going to make meaningful improvement. So what we do, and you can see from this graphic, we tend to work with your existing legacy systems there on the bottom, your business systems, and then we add, or as Deb terms it, conjoins those capabilities with your existing systems to deliver this set of capabilities as rapidly as possible and specific to the target operations. In this case, you can see disability claims and underwriting at the top. So the new capabilities are added to the existing system shown at the bottom, and then it's all presented in a modern integrated set of user interfaces. In the Sun Life example, although we built on top of their existing legacy systems, they no longer actually interact with those systems directly. All the data is delivered through the more modern set of UIs that were delivered. In this example, Joe mentioned the concept of tasks. This example shows a task, and in this case it's setting up a new case. That might be a new policy, it might be a new complex claim, might be a fraud investigation. But the example shows here that without any manual effort at all, as the new documents or whatever it is that's kicking off this new case come in, the entire new case structure is created, work is assigned, requests for medical information are sent out, content is placed in specialized folders, and additional tasks are created and either automatically completed or sent to knowledge workers to complete. I give you just one or two examples of what this might look like in a real-life set of user interfaces. So the various capabilities in the IBM platform, plus your data and your transactions from your administrative systems, are now exposed in new, more optimized user interfaces. The example here, this one particular user interface, you can see easy-to-use tabs that take you, based on your role in the process, to your various specific activities. You can see the case structures already created, content's already there, rules have determined who's getting the work and which UIs are being presented to them and which data. The entire work plan, history and status can be displayed, along with all the access to content, data, rules, etc., and a much more optimized UI. In this particular case, this is what we call our case management plan view. The various tasks that have been created either automatically or by the underwriter, the tasks are all color-coded based upon whether they've been completed or whether they're pending, they're waiting for additional information, or they're out in the future somewhere. So you can quickly figure out where you are in this process and go do the next piece of work that needs to be done. By clicking on any of those tasks in that Gantt view, you can find the task detail and you can work on it as necessary. Rules and analytics can be applied to focus the work where it leads to the greatest value. In this case, some underwriting rules were used against the information that's been generated, and scoring has been done automatically to tell you how to move forward with this particular case. So one reason that projects can be delivered much more rapidly than in the past using the IBM platform now is that much of the customization of the solution is now done through configuration and not coding. So the work plan above is from a sample work plan that we did for a customer. And you can see that this particular section of the work plan includes 10 weeks for the design and configuration phase, at the end of which we'll have delivered a series of new capabilities. And you can see the types of things that need to be configured have to do with documents and content, workflow and tasks, business rules, case structures, etc. This is just one more example of what some of that configuration information can look like in detail. I won't go over that for lack of time at the moment. And even much of the user interfaces can be configured based upon role and changing needs. So one of the things that has to happen, however, as we go through this configuration phase in that 10-week process, is expertise is necessary to, as there are critical relationships among things like the user interfaces, the roles, the case structures, the tasks, etc. So these need to all be designed in a way that optimizes the operation and hopefully leads to transformation. So to wrap up, we've now outlined a path forward for operational transformation. That Deb talked about identifying your needs and determining what's constraining you from achieving your goals, You then need to find the right technology platform that deliver these missing capabilities rapidly and through configuration and being driven by the business. You then blend technical and business expertise, building work plans that deliver specialized solutions rapidly. So we want to, at the end, make sure that the project goals include significant improvement upon implementation. So I'm now going to turn it back over to the moderator for questions and answers.
Thanks a lot, Steve. I really appreciate this. Lots of good information today. Now it is time for some Q&A, and as I mentioned earlier, if you have a question for any of the presenters, feel free to type it in the box that's provided to you, and we'll try to get to as many of your questions as we can. If we don't get to your question, know that Janet Nagurski, who's pictured here on the slide from IBM, will be following up with you after the event, so all questions will be addressed one way or another. First question is actually for Steve, and it comes from an attendee that says, can you elaborate on what would be involved in walkthrough as you described? I think someone would like to hear a little bit more information about that, Steve.
Yeah, so there's levels of walkthroughs. We'll do a walkthrough at the beginning of a project where some of those graphics that you saw that identified the constraints and then track them back to things like productivity and cycle times and things. Those we can do in just a couple of days through looking at your process and interviewing people. But when you get into the design phase of a project, as I say, that can take 10 weeks, sometimes 3 or 4 months, depending upon the complexity of the process. So because you have to understand it all in detail, you have to see what they're doing today, how their systems handle it. Yeah, once you determine that there's opportunity there and you've got a higher level plan to move forward, it then takes a little bit more effort to get into the details, but still not a huge amount of time.
Okay, all right, thanks. This next question, I think I'm going to pitch this one to you, Deb, and then ask Joe and Steve in order to, share their ideas as well. The question is, are you suggesting that current systems do not need to be replaced?
Well, that's a really great question, Pat, and thank you for whoever submitted it. The answer is it depends, right? If you've got some legacy systems, but they seem to be doing the job in terms of being able to store rates, rules, or forms, or be able to do fundamentals, then an alternative from replacing could be to start to use the workflow, the BPM, the enterprise content management, some of the tools, the collaboration tools, and build onto it. Mm-hmm. It saves time. It can be a really great strategy. But if your legacy system can't allow for that type of technology integration, then sometimes you do have to bite the bullet and modernize them to be able to do some of the things that we talked about today.
Okay, sure. Joe, what is your experience with your clients? Has this been an issue?
Well, I think Deb touched on it, and I think it's an interesting question, and the answer is equally interesting. I think the approach has been, if it's difficult to maintain or costly, if there's a driver technically that says it should be replaced, then it will be replaced. On the other hand, if it's sustainable and it delivers its function, it's probably best left in place. The challenge with that often is how do you interface with it. So there often is a little bit of work that needs to be done around it to bring it forward into an environment that focuses on more of the business value. I think insurance companies that have undertaken this previously, who basically rewrote their core systems, found that there were benefits, particularly around the technical or the cost maintenance issues. But what they tend to all agree upon is that the business value delivered fell short of perhaps what hope or, more importantly, expectations would have been. So again, I think it's important to, if it does need to be brought forward, to do so. But more importantly, to think differently about what paradigm you need to bring it forward in and how it's going to better serve your organization.
Okay. What about you, Steve, with the customers you've been working with?
Many of them hope to avoid the pain and multi-year process of replacing systems, because a lot of times they don't move that far out on Deb's chart there towards transformation. They end up replacing what they've got. Maybe they add a little bit of workflow, or maybe some integration into their content. Maybe there's some rules, but a lot of times they're hard-coded rules that are hard to change. And one of the advantages of actually adding to the systems you have today is that you end up with more enterprise class technology that can actually be used across your various systems. We've seen systems where they've got some workflow baked into it, but that's in the claim system, and the customer service people can't use that workflow to do their customer service, so nobody's really collaborating well. They've all got their own workflow. So one advantage of this approach is that everyone's using the same workflow system, the same content, the same rules engine, and you can actually collaborate better.
Okay, thanks. Okay, well, I think this next question, I'm going to ask Joe if you can address it first, and it's where can insurers start? Like, where should they start that would provide the most impact right away?
I think it does depend, you know, as Deb would say, you know, it depends. But it does. One of the key factors is, you know, what line of business are you in? And it's an important distinction. And what are your business objectives? You're looking for revenue growth. You're looking for cost reduction. You can start virtually anywhere. There are solutions in the marketplace, perhaps, that address, you know, core system replacement, for example, in the P&C claims world, available. In other areas, it's a little bit more. You need to cobble it together yourself to solve. So, in general, I think that what we're seeing from our clients is the bigger payback seems to be offered in the underwriting space, regardless of what line of business. Anything that's a complex decision, you're undertaking the risk and all of the elements that you need to undertake. What we've seen historically is underwriting has been underinvested in, largely because it is the core competency of the insurance organization. Business leaders are, you know, somewhat reluctant to tamper with it because it is the secret sauce, if you will.
Right.
And the technologies have fell short of what was required. I think that's changing, and I think, you know, a case management approach really does address a lot of the needs and requirements that underwriting and claims and other insurance functions requires.
Right, okay. What about you, Steve? With all your client work, you know, is there a trend, or is this a depends kind of answer, the way Joe and Deb would have answered it?
It's a new set of skills, it's a new set of technologies, and so what we normally find is that our clients end up starting with something fairly mission critical to justify the cost and the time and the new skills and the new platforms and all that. So typically it's something to do with claims or something to do with new business and underwriting, and then once those things are settled, the customer service actually becomes a lot easier, because a lot of your customer service has to do with, oh, did they pay my claim? Why, you know, why? What are we waiting for? Or how's my policy coming along? And, you know, so you really do need to automate the claims or the underwriting piece first, and then you derive a lot of benefit on the customer service side.
Okay. I think we have time for one last question, and I'm going to pitch this one to Deb. And this is an important question, I think, for all attendees and everyone who's considering this. How do you gain executive management buy-in?
Well, I think it's really what we were just talking about. You've got to hone in on what's the priority, where's the biggest pain point, and hone in the linkage or the tie to the business strategies and the business plans. And then you have to provide some education. As I said in my opening remarks, operational transformation sounds big, scary, and expensive. And so what you need to do is provide education in terms of case studies, bring solution providers and people like IBM and Stephen from IPD, and to just educate and show how other companies have had the success and take them on that journey. And then, as we were just talking about, start small. So do mission critical, but don't try to boil the whole underwriting process. Maybe just look at submissions, or don't try to do all of claims. Just focus on maybe the first notice of loss or something small like that.
Right, right. Well, great advice. Great. Well, I'm sorry to say that we're out of time. We've had a great discussion today. I want to thank our presenters, Deb Smallwood from SMA, Joe Ziegel from IBM, and Steve Racine from IPD for sharing their insights today. In the next few days, you'll be sent a follow-up email with access to the recording. And on behalf of Insurance Networking News and our sponsors, IBM and IPD, I want to thank all of you for joining us. Have a great rest of your day.